And so I had to re-record the entire training by myself at home to make sure that it was up, available. Same information, but without all my buddies. So we are now recording for posterity, and we'll go ahead and we'll start in a couple of minutes. I usually start at 10:01. That way, anybody coming in, like right around 10-ish or thereabouts, can join in without being left behind.
Raphael, I like that you have it set up as a table instead of just a regular sheet.
Yeah,
I convinced my department to like start doing that because like it's so frustrating to navigate otherwise.
That's how I usually roll. That's just me.
Yeah. Well, me too.
I think I did a training on Excel tables not too long ago, and I told everybody this is the way to go.
Right.
You know what I mean? I actually used this particular data, so I'm recycling this sheet. So, okay. Anyway, okay, guys. So it's 10:01, and I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So the usual bit of shameless self-promotion. Before we get into the nitty-gritty, next week we are doing accessibility, okay? And under accessibility, we are going to be doing the do's and don'ts of word tables, okay? So as we are recommending to people to, instead of relaying files as PDFs, and instead going back to Word, because that makes your life a lot easier, I'm going to focus a lot on accessibility in Word. And one of the biggest violators of accessibility rules that I've observed on this campus has been how tables have been used and misused as far as accessibility is concerned. So next week's training won't be a particularly long training, but that doesn't matter because what's important is that we're all on the same page as to how these things are supposed to go. So next week, Word, do's and don'ts of Word tables. All right, same time, same channel, same place. All right. So if we're all ready, what we're going to talk about today I kind of wanted to get back to basics. In my travels through the campus, when I'm helping people with their Excel spreadsheets, okay? And I've got a very poorly focused camera on me, so I'm blurry, but that doesn't matter. When I've been looking at people's spreadsheets, one of the things that tends to trip people up the most are the functions and formulas that they have to work in their sheets. And usually it's not because they created they're not the ones that created the functions and formulas themselves. Most of the time, these folks have inherited the spreadsheet. And that spreadsheet has all kinds of stuff on it. And sometimes the formulas there are necessarily complicated and sometimes they're not. Regardless, what it results in is, inevitably errors occur as the spreadsheet grows and data is added that doesn't necessarily match what the function is supposed to work with, okay? So people have these troubles with functions and formulas. So my goal today is not to teach you every function under the Excel sun, because Excel has something along the lines of 500 functions, even more. Okay, if you know anybody who knows every Excel function, please put me in contact with them. I'd like to breathe in their magic. Okay, but I don't think anybody out there knows every Excel function. I certainly don't. I certainly don't know more than some. So what I'm not going to do today is I'm going to go over all these functions. I'm going to go over some, which may be interesting. But my goal today is to show you how to engage with Excel in such a way as that you can effectively put functions together, right? And as always, I'm going to be throwing Copilot into this one, because Copilot is becoming a more and more effective, though not 100% effective, but more and more effective assistant in helping to put functions together for you. So when you have a need, you can go into Copilot, and remember, it's going to be not Copilot in this. This is the this is the installed version. That would have to be in the browser version. I'm going to move between the two. You can go to Copilot and you can start asking it some questions. And I'm going to show you an example of some of the questions that I used. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So I'm not going to tell you that Copilot will give you the greatest functions every single time, but it does help. Okay, are we all good? You're good? We're ready? Okay, so first, let's start at the very, very fundamentals, just to make sure we're all on the same page. Okay, if you've worked in Excel for any period of time, you know that when you need to go to a function, you go up to the ribbon, you go up, let me get this thing out of here. You go up to the formulas tab and you go to insert function. Now, if you know your functions and where they are, you can go through these different categories. Okay, that's assuming you know where your functions are. Let's say there's a function that you've learned, you use it frequently. Okay, that's fantastic. All right, but if you don't, you can go to the insert function and you can go to the search for a function and you can type in, I would like to sum a range of numbers. Okay, and let's see if that works. And that, please rephrase your question, doesn't work. So I'm just going to say sum and then go, and it shows me all the possible sums. So you can't treat this like you can treat Copilot. Even though it says, tell it what you would like it to do, you saw its response. So it's best if you kind of know, ideally, you know the name, or at least a similar name, right? I could go here and say if, all right, and I'll get all kinds of if functions available to me. All right, so you guys, how many of you, show of digital hands, have never engaged with this dialog here? Never. Okay, so you've never engaged with the dialog. That's fine. Okay, so we'll get to that. We'll get to that piece, and I'll show you exactly what to do. All right. But before we get to this, so this is going to be a big focus. There is also the auto functions. All right. For instance, let's say I just want to sum this bunch of numbers. Okay. And I can put my cursor over here and I can go up here to auto sum. And Excel will intuitively know where I want to do the summing, or it will intuitively guess, because it will see the only things that can be summed are these numbers, so I'm going to set this range. So all I needed to do was put my cursor there and hit the auto sum. How are we doing with that so far? We're good? The other thing I can do is I can do things like auto average. Okay, but you see how it doesn't necessarily hit the right function? I mean, the right cell? So I'm going to have to change that. So I'm going to have to set my range. and then I hit the enter button, and then I get my average. So the auto works when there is nothing between the function and what you're trying to auto calculate. So because I had this sum in between the average and what I want to calculate, it automatically hit this, and it was incorrect. Okay, so far so good? How are we doing there, Kylie? Okay, I don't want to move over your head or under it. All right, so just stop me if I'm too simple or too complicated. Another thing I can do here is auto count. See, right now it's automatically going to hit these two numbers, which I don't want. So again, I'm going to just set my range. I'm going to hit the enter button, and it's going to tell me that I have 70 entries in that range. All right. Okay. Now, the other ones that we can do are maxes and mins, the highest and the lowest. I don't think I need to show you guys that. I think we're good with that. Okay, fantastic. Now that we know how to use the auto functions, Kylie, you've never used the insert function dialog, so I'm going to go with that for the time being. Let's say I want to go and average those numbers. Okay, so I'm going to first type in average, and I'm going to hit go. And here's average. Now you've got other average functions over here. A cool one is average if and average ifs. Average the numbers if they some other entry in another column equals something specific. So for instance, I can average the numbers in this column if they belong to Amazon. So I get the average of Amazon purchases. Bless you, Kim. Okay, I get the average of Amazon purchases. That's a pretty cool function. That's a good way to go ahead and break down your data. But let's just go simple for the moment, right? So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go to insert function. I'm going to type average. I'm going at a good speed, Kylie? Okay. And I'm going to double click on average, and a new dialog is going to pop up. Okay. So this dialog will give me the fields that I have to insert. Now, some of these functions will require you to fill in every field. Some will not. It depends on the function. All right. In this case, all I need to do is sum the average, average the range that I need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this first field here, and I'm going to hit this up arrow. What that simply does is it collapses the dialog upward, and it gives me all my data to look at. And then I'm just going to set my range. Okay? And then I'm going to hit the down button here. And I don't have to do number 2 in this case, because I already have my range, and I'm going to just click OK, and I have my number. And that's the basic way in which you engage with the function dialog. Now, you'll see as when we get to the browser version, it's got a very similar function dialog to it. So we'll get to that in a bit. Let me just demo, and I hope it works, the average if, because, like I said, it's pretty cool to have that capability. If I go to average, and I hit go, one of my choice, average, go, and I go to average if, now I'm going to get this dialog here. The only ones I need to worry about are range and criteria. Okay, now, hopefully this will work. I never guarantee anything. My range is going to be here. And my criteria will be Amazon. Let's see if it works. I'm going to go, okay. And that didn't work. So hang on one second. Let me see if I can do an average ifs, and that will work. See if that works for me. because the sum ifs works that way. So it's interesting that the average ifs doesn't work like that. So average. Okay. So average range would be here. Criteria range would be, okay, this is what you got to use, the average ifs. The criteria range would be here. And the criteria will be Amazon. Okay? So now I'm going to click OK, and now I get a real number. Okay? So it's the average ifs. Now, it's $277.58. You know, you got to round it up. Okay, you guys see how that works? So Kylie, how comfortable are you with the function dialog at the moment? Good? Fantastic. Okay. So those are the basics of engaging with these particular dialogues. Jacqueline, how you doing?
I'm good.
Okay, and if you guys have anything to
Oh, I've used all this stuff so far.
Okay, so nothing new to you here. If you got something to show me, Jacqueline, please do so, because I only think I'm omnipotent, but I'm not really. Okay, so you know, hit me if you've got something good. All right. Okay, so
text to columns.
Text to columns is I can do it. It's not technically a function,
Right.
but I can.
It's useful when you're preparing rosters.
Yeah, I can show you that at the end. Okay, when we get to everything, get done with everything, I'll be happy to show you text to columns. Just stick around for an extra minute, and you guys can take a look at it too. It's very useful.
Yeah. It's just a recommendation if you're making rosters and you want first and last name separated.
Yeah, oh no, absolutely.
Export that way. Yeah,
absolutely.
At least that's what I use it for.
Oh, here's another thing that people are doing all the time. They put the whole name into a single cell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That drives me nuts.
Yeah. I don't like that either.
Was there a way to divide?
Yes, that's exactly what she's talking
that's
about.
what I'm talking about.
Okay, so so you know what? Let me do it now because it looks like I've got somebody who really wants to know. I got two people who really want to know. So let me just hit that real quick, okay? Let's just say I've got John Smith and Sally Jones. That's all we really need, right? Sally Jones. Somebody has given you a spreadsheet where they've done this kind of thing. You want to be able to split it up without, having to do it manually. So what you do over here, and I'm going to go to search because I never remember which tab it's in. Text.
That's in data on a Mac.
To columns. Text. Let's see if it's on the Mac. It should be the same thing over. Text to columns right over here. So you go to the data tab. You go to text to columns. Okay. So I'm going to go to text to columns, and I'm going to actually cancel this. I'm going to select my entire thing over here. Text to columns. It's going to give me both names, and I'm going to go to next. The main thing is it wants to know what the delimiter is. What is it that is in between the words that you want to Excel to recognize to know where to separate everything? In this case, it's a space, right? So I'm going to go over here to space. I'm going to undo the tab, and I'm just going to go to next. It's going to show me what the result looks like, and then I'm just going to say finish. And then it just moves those names over. Now, let's say I have Smith, John, right? Smith, John. And then Jones. I've seen these before, and it drives me crazy. Sally, right? You've seen these before? So now I'm going to select these two. I'm going to go to text to columns, and I'm going to say it's going to stay as delimited. I'm going to go to next, but this time, notice that my delimiter is a comma. So let's see what happens if I do comma. There it goes. There's also a space in there. If I hit space, it's going to take the space away from the first name, which is fine. And then I can just hit finish, and boom, it moves them over. So that's exactly how you do this. How we doing there?
Yeah. And this is how the data gets exported from online
yeah.
when you're getting your
Mhm.
rosters. Except it
Yeah.
also includes the pronouns. So it's really long if you want to keep it as provided.
So you can make the delimiter comma and space, and it'll move delete
Yes.
comma and the space, so you don't.
So what happens is if I didn't check space, it would have left the space at the front, at the first name. Okay, but here's where things get tricky though, Jacqueline, okay? Things get tricky when you've got people with multi-part names.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Okay.
So you just have to
That
proofread
can
it.
get tricky, okay? So sometimes, like most of the names, which are two-part names, will easily be moved over, but the multi-part names, you may have to manually go in there and configure them, okay? But anyway, are we good with text to columns? Everybody understand? Jacqueline, did that help you out?
Yep.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so I'm just going to show you a few functions that I think are of use, okay? And I'm also going to show you a feature called data validation menus, which are of great use too, okay? First, the if function, okay? Now, the if function is basically, if this, then that, otherwise something else. It's just a logical test that if the first result is passed, then you get one thing in a cell. And if the second result is the one that's true, then you get another thing in a cell. So what I did over here is, here's a column over here where I have my Star Wars characters, because remember, I renamed all the real people to Star Wars characters. So no real people here. If they are in the column that it says, if professional development related, then those people need to go to training. But if there's no name in here, then no training is needed. It's that simple. So this is the result. So I'm going to do it again over here in this column K. So I'm going to go over to my formulas. I'm going to go to my insert function. I'm going to type in if. And I'm going to go. And I'm going to type in if. There you go. Okay. Now, my logical test. All right. My logical test is if, and this is, let's say I want to focus on if, let me just get rid of this over here. Let's see over here. If this, why does it keep doing that? Let me just move this out of here. Delete. If H2, let me see if professional, okay, no, not H, I'm sorry, if G2, I got the wrong column. If G2 equals, this is the column, professional development related, no or yes. See how it's yes or no? If G2 equals no, okay, then no training needed. Otherwise, send to training. Okay? It's that simple. I got to put it in quotes. So I don't have to do the yeses because all it's looking for if there's a no in there. If there is not a no in there, then send to training, which means yes would be sent to training, right? It's just logic. And then I click OK and no training needed. Now, the cool thing about this is that all I need to do now is copy the formula down by dragging, and all the cells will be populated with the proper result. How many of you in this room have never used an if function up to now? Anybody? So you've never used an if function. Kim, you've used one? You've used it? And I'm assuming, Jacqueline, you've used if functions, right?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So that's kind of how this works, right? I can play around with my if functions. I can say like this. You can do this with math too. So I can go back to my insert function. I can go to if. if the value in this cell is less than $250, okay, then this cell plus 100. View if value if false, this cell minus $100. Okay, there you go. So I'm going to go click OK. Hey, what's up? What are you doing to me? I'm going to do it the easier. See, what I don't like, I got to tell you something about tables, Jacqueline. What I don't like is when it populates the functions, it uses weird table notation names. So I just want to use the regular cells. So this is what I'm going to do. Okay, I'm going to go to if, and it's F2. If F2, okay, is greater than 250, there you go, very simple, then F2 plus 100. Okay, I'm sorry, F2, let's make it minus 100 because it'd be a bit bigger number, minus 100, otherwise F2 plus 100. There you go. Okay, now this is less than 250, it got 100 added to it. Now I copy it down. Okay, and the cool thing is, as you copy the formula down, the cell references change. In this case, the rows, they automatically change. And so all you have to do is copy the function down and boom, you're good and done. Okay, and that's how you use an if function. Anybody have any questions? We good? Kylie, how are you doing with that?
Good. I'm playing around.
Okay, so I'm not going too fast for you. Okay, I can move forward. Okay, next, the XLOOKUP function. I love the XLOOKUP function. Okay, that is a particularly useful function. What the XLOOKUP function does, like let's say you have this table and I want to look up certain information pertaining to these employee IDs. I can, and this is the result, okay? I can choose an employee ID and their department and salary will show up automatically here. Okay? How many of you guys have never used a lookup function? Okay, Jacqueline, have you used the lookups?
Oh yeah, I use VLOOKUP all the time.
You use VLOOKUP.
XLOOKUP sometimes, but
Yeah, so what
grading.
XLOOKUP does is XLOOKUP combines the VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. Okay, you can use XLOOKUP in their stead. HLOOKUP is horizontal lookup, VLOOKUP is vertical lookup. I'm showing the XLOOKUP because it's something that Excel is pushing instead of H or V, although it's not getting rid of HLOOKUP or VLOOKUP. But here's what it is. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create this menu because it's very, very useful to create a menu like this. This is what's known as a validation menu, okay? Because then instead of writing those entries in, I can just select from those entries. So I'm going to do that down here, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to data and to data validation. It's this little icon right over here, data validation. Now what data validation does, there's several different types of data validation, is that it ensures that the contents of a cell can only be displayed within a set parameter, a set of constraints, and nothing else can be displayed in that cell. If that data is within those constraints, then that data is valid. You guys understand? And that it can be used. If it's outside those constraints, those rules, then it is invalid data. And the way that a menu makes creates data validation is that you are telling the cell what it can display by referring that cell to a specific set of values. For instance, these numbers over here, which are employee IDs. right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to allow, and I'm going to call it a list. It's going to be a list. And then it's going to ask for my source. I'm going to make sure that in-cell dropdown is selected. Okay, ignore blanks has to be selected. And I'm going to make my source these numbers. Okay, and I'm going to click OK. And there's my menu. Okay, there it is. Boom. Okay, everybody good with that? Kim, you good with that? Okay, now, what do I want to do with this? I want to use a lookup function that will look up whatever I select here and get me the data from the rest of the table. So now I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go to my XLOOKUP function. So I'm going to go over to my formulas. I'm going to go to insert function. I'm going to type in XLOOKUP. Click on go. Now, first thing it's going to, there's a whole bunch of fields here. So the ones with lots more fields, they can get kind of tricky and scary, but it's not too bad. By the way, notice, Kylie, on here that the ones that are absolutely required are the ones that are in bold. If they're not in bold, they're not absolutely required. Okay? All right. So my lookup value is where do I want the function to look up the value? Well, that's going to be what's ever in my menu here. So my lookup value is going to be D12. All right. But the function doesn't necessarily know where this is sourcing from. So you have to tell it. Well, that is the lookup array. So you're going to have to tell it this belongs to this. That's my lookup array. So it's going to take whatever is in here and it's going to match it with whatever is in here. And then it's going to want to know the return array. The return array is what do you want, what data in the rest of the table do you want to match that to? Well, this is my array. Okay? So it's going to go up to 103. This is my lookup array. And then it's going to match where 103 is in the return array. Okay, is everybody okay with this? And then I'm going to click OK, and then boom. Then all I need to do is click the menu, and I get my information. Now, the cool thing here is I can do lookups for multiple columns. So let's say I want to see where, what department they're in and what they're making. So I'm going to do another XLOOKUP. I'm going to go back up here to my XLOOKUP. Click OK. My lookup value, once again, is going to be this. It's going to be D12. My lookup array is going to be the same over here. But now, D12, my apologies. My lookup array, there you go, is going to be here. Okay, now my return array is going to be salary. And that's it. I'm going to click OK. And now as I change these numbers, their associated data is presented to me. I could do that for the entire table if I wanted to. I could have myself my lookup menu, my validation menu, and all 4 columns. So I'd have 4 lookups, 1 for each column, looking for each piece of information. And then I can just go in here, boom, boom, boom. How are you guys doing with that function? So Kim, you're looking kind of, so tell me.
I just don't think I'll need this, so it's okay.
All right, so that's fine. But as far as understanding it, does it sound okay? That's what I need. Okay, all right. Any questions about XLOOKUPs? Okay, I'm going to go to some ifs because I want to go through these fairly quickly because I want to get to the Copilot piece. Okay, all right. So I already did a some ifs over here. This is basically telling me, look in this range, sum all the numbers that belong to Amazon. Okay, ignore everything else. So I'm going to do it again over here. I'm going to do another sum ifs. This is my result. I did another validation menu right over here, actually. So I can just, I did the same thing I did before, except for this range over here, right? And I'm going to go to the ceramic shop. I got $729 worth in the ceramic shop. And I got the B&H, and I got $181 worth. And I have, okay, you guys get it? You guys see how that works? Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing here. So I'm going to do the validation doesn't take a lot of time. So I'm going to go to data. I'm going to do the validation. I'm going to do a list. And my source is going to be this column. Boom. Okay. And then click OK. And there's my menu. Now I need to do my sum ifs. Remember how we did average ifs? Sum ifs does pretty much the same thing. So I'm going to go up to my formulas. I'm going to insert a function. I'm going to call it sum ifs. And click OK. Now, what is my sum range? Okay, my sum range is this range over here. My criteria range is the same range where I created that menu. It needs to look, okay, at this range. Then it's going to want to know, where do I look for the criteria? Well, the criteria is sitting in this cell where I started the validation. And that is E78. And I'm going to click OK. And then all I need to do is choose my Amazon. Boom. Okay. Wait, what did it do? Why is it not summing ifing? Count on this to make me look good. Okay.
Murphy, that's why.
It worked. So if I do it over here, let's see if I get the same. No, Amazon gives me $8,603. Okay. So see how this over here makes when you use just the cell references, it makes it work all the time. So this is kind of a bug in Excel. If sum ifs F2 to F71, this is my summing range. D2 to D71 is my criteria range. And my criteria is whatever shows up in E75, my validation menu. And you can see that it works. I do the same thing for here. This is E78, and it doesn't work. Okay, so Jacqueline, I'm going to tell you something, because you were talking about doing tables.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like a disadvantage of using tables is if this were a regular sheet of data without it being a table, it would simply put in the cell references and the formula would work every time. Okay, why it's not working now, I'm not going to lie. I don't know, because I did the formula in precisely the same way. I'm going to try it one more time before I have to move on. Okay. So that would be sum ifs. My sum range is this. See how it does this silliness over here instead of the range? Okay, my criteria range is this. And then my criteria needs to be inside of here. And then I click OK. And when I click Amazon, oh, now it worked. You see?
Murphy.
I don't have an explanation for what's going on over here, guys. It worked. I did precisely the same thing now that I did before. Okay? But I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. I'm going to move on. Does everybody understand the sum ifs function?
Yes.
And Kim, if you have something that you specifically want to look at, let me know. And I'll be happy to work with you on it. Okay. Next, COUNTIF. COUNTIF is basically count the number of entries if it passes a certain criteria. Okay. So if I want to do a COUNTIF, okay, all I need to do, I did COUNTIF Amazon. Okay. And I had 31. So I'm going to do it over here again. COUNTIF Amazon. So I go in here. I'm going to go up here. COUNTIF. Okay. Go. Here's my COUNTIF. My range is this range. And my criteria, okay, is Amazon. I'm going to click OK. There you go. I got 31. But you know what? Let's experiment with something, because I don't only have Amazon. I also have Amazon.com, which BTW guys, don't do that. Don't do that. If it's Amazon, stick to Amazon. Don't give it variations. Amazon, Amazon.com, nothing screws up your data than inconsistency. More than inconsistency. Either stick to Amazon.com or Amazon. Don't do this business. Okay? But if I want to play around with that, I can say Amazon star. The star is wildcard. Find me Amazon with whatever is after it. It can just be Amazon or it can be Amazon.com. And I click OK. Now I've got 33 of them. Okay? I can do star Amazon star. If you've got something in front of the various Amazons and something after, I could go star Amazon star. So give me Amazon. If it has, it's basically whichever cell contains an Amazon in it, even if there's other text. You guys follow? Okay. And then I hit the enter button, and I'm still going to, now I got 34 because I have something in front of Amazon somewhere in here. So guys, please don't do that unless you specifically want the tool to be different, things, different entities. All right. How's everybody doing? Am I moving too fast? We're good? Okay. Count blank basically is simply count the number of blank cells. Does anybody need me to go through a count blank? Because now we're getting into a time crunch here. Anybody wants me to do that? Here's the thing. I've already shown you how to play around with the function dialog. So you can, you guys know how to get through the function dialog right now. Kylie, are you feeling more comfortable with the function dialog? Okay, fantastic. I had some other, let's see over here. Workday is actually pretty neat, okay? Count the number of work days from a certain date. What date is that going to be? Does anybody need that? Anybody need that? So if I need 60 work days from 1/17/2026, what date is that going to be? Anybody need that?
Mm-mm.
No? Okay, we can move forward from there. Unique gives me the unique, it tells me what the unique values are in a range, okay, ignoring some dupes. So for instance, let's say I have 6 Amazons. I don't care if there's 6 Amazons. I just want to know what the different entities are in that range. So give me just the unique values. Anybody need that? No? Okay, I can show it to you real quick, just so that you can see, because you may want to know what's in there. This is my unique. Oh, it's very simple. Equals unique, whatever the range is. And I got this. Okay, so all of these are in there. It's just that Amazon happens to show up a bunch of different times, but it doesn't care. It's just showing me what the unique values are. Are we good with that? Okay, fantastic. Let's go to Copilot. That's what I want to really focus on for the rest of this training. So I'm going to go in here now. I'm going to close Excel self. I'm going to go into Excel for the web, and I'm going to go to my file. This is the same file. Okay, now, let me see, I need to have Copilot going on over here, which is right over here. Okay, remember guys, Copilot is only available for Office on the web, not in the installed version of Office. At least that's as far as our license is concerned. So I have my handy dandy script here for my commands. So I'm going to go over to the XLOOKUP, right? So I'm going to go over to the XLOOKUP and I'm going to open Copilot here. Now, Copilot is going to want me to give it some kind of a prompt. Remember, it's all in the prompt. So the prompt I give it, and some of these prompts work and some of these don't, and you have to play with it. So the prompt I'm going to give it is in cell B14. Okay. So where am I here? In cell, what am I doing? In cell B14, I need an XLOOKUP function that will give me the salary of the employee. Did I spell that right? What is it doing? Sorry guys, I don't know why it's doing that. In cell B14, I need an XLOOKUP function that will give me the salary of the employee ID in cell, let's just call it B12. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and use this as the lookup function. Not D12, cell D12. Okay, so what I'm telling it to do is look at this cell. Okay, put the salary over here. I'm just doing this randomly. I should be doing it over here, but let's just go with it. And it's going to think, and it's going to think. Because I told it to use an XLOOKUP, it's going to go ahead and create the XLOOKUP function for me here. Now, I've got a couple of options. I can just right-click and copy and throw it in here, okay? But it also will allow me to add to cell. So I'm going to add to cell, and there it goes. Now, when I first did Copilot training for Office 365 in October, I said that Copilot will not affect your spreadsheet or your work. It does not change the contents, but something has changed because now I've got this add to cell button. So that's actually very useful. Okay, so you guys see what I did over there? Now, maybe you don't know exactly what kind of function you need. Maybe you can try to give it an English prompt. Well, this is where things become tricky. How good is your prompt going to be? Well, let's try it. In cell E12, I need the salary of the employee, I can't spell these days, of the employee ID in D12. Let's see what happens. You're trying to give it English. You don't know that you have to use a lookup function, okay? Or what will Copilot tell us? Maybe it'll give us another function. So it's thinking, it's reviewing, and it's thinking. Now, if I don't give it specifics, I may or may not get what I want. In this case, it gave me this. Let's see if it works. So if I add to the cell, it gave me the same thing. If I go over here, it will change it. It worked. So I gave it a more English prompt, and it gave me what I needed. Okay? You guys follow how this kind of works? So let's try go over here to sum ifs. Remember sum ifs? Okay, so I'm going to try to do sum ifs. I'm going to delete this over here, and I'm going to put the sum ifs function to look at this, whatever's in here. So what did my prompt say? Because I practiced these. Okay, I'm going to put in, I need a function that will sum the transaction amounts for vendor names based on the value in cell, what is it? Is that D78? E78, cell E78. Let's see what happens. So I'm going to make sure that my cursor is in here. I'm going to go, okay? And it's reviewing, it's thinking. Now, I gave some of the specificity that I put into that prompt involved the column names. So here's the column, transaction amounts. Here's a column, vendor names. By giving it that specificity, it gives it a chance to know what to put into that formula. So here is the sum ifs, it does its thing, and let's see if it works. Add to cell, there you go. So learning to engage with Copilot involves knowing how to prompt, but here's an extra layer. You need to know what you want from your data, and you need to be able to phrase that into a prompt. That's not something I can just teach you. That's something you have to play with on your own. All right? Let's try, I have another function here that I wanted. I need a function to show today's date. I need that cell to update automatically every day. Okay, so I'm going to just go to over here. I'm just going to choose a blank cell. Okay. I need today's date in cell F85. Okay, I need that date to update every day. Okay, now I'm going to click this, and it's going to think, and it's going to think, and there it goes. It gives me the function. I add to cell. Now, what if I had simply said I need today's date in F85? It would have put today's date in F85, but that's it. By putting the function equals today parentheses, it will put in there whatever the current date is. It will always update. Okay, you guys follow how that works? Okay. Let's see. Okay, so let's say I have today's date, which is 2/5/2026, and then I have another date, which is 6/15/2026. And I want to know how many business days are there in between these two dates. So I can give it a prompt. How many business days are there between the dates in cells, what is it? Pardon me, I just got F and G. Cells F87 and G87. And it's going to go. It's going to think. It's going to look at the cells, the values in the cells, and it's going to give me this function. And I'm going to add it to the cells. And now I know there are 93 Monday through Fridays between these two dates. Okay, so again, I'm trying to give you an idea of how to prompt Copilot in order to get the data you want. You need to give it English, but you also need to give it specificity. The specificity has to involve the relevant elements of the data you are trying to work with over here. I can make it very simple. Okay, I can say something like, let's see what my next one is. I need the total of all transactions made by Poe Dameron. Here's Poe Dameron. Poe Dameron has made some transactions. Everybody knows who Poe Dameron is, right? Star Wars, the new Star Wars. Okay, Poe Dameron. Okay, so I'm going to put that over here, and I'm going to start a new conversation. I need the total of all transactions made by Poe Dameron. Now notice something here. I am not involving column names. I am involving Poe Dameron, but I'm not telling it where to look. I'm not giving it a column name. So now Copilot has to go out there and see what here can I work with as far as transactions is concerned. Okay, I need a total, which means I need numbers. So it's going to be performing that kind of logic. I'm going to click the go button. It's going to think. And it's going to give me my number. So it's going to know to look for Poe Dameron. It's doing its own lookup, Jacqueline. Okay, you see how it's doing a lookup? Okay, so it's going here to Poe Dameron and then headed over. It's doing its own VLOOKUP and finding all of these trends and then summing those things. Okay, so kind of a VLOOKUP and then summing all the results. Okay, well, what do? I'm going to add it to the cell, and it didn't work. So you see how it always doesn't work? It'll give you the answer here, but it may not work over here. So just showing you that not every prompt works, and you're going to have to play with the prompts. How much time do I have? I've got 4 minutes. Okay. Here is one more. I'm going to do one more. Okay, I'm going to do another count if. All right. So I'm going to say over here.
I think you can start with us.
So say that again. Hi, Tammy. You're a little late. I'm sorry. We're almost done. Okay. But it's recorded, so you can look at it. Jacqueline, go ahead. What'd you say?
Sorry. I had a be right back.
Oh, you had a BRB. Okay.
I had to leave the room and then I just got back.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I missed whatever happened the last few minutes.
Okay, no problem. So let's say I can say how many transactions were made with Amazon or Amazon.com. Did I spell that all right? And it's going to think, and it's going to think, and it's going to think, and it's going to look, it's going to do its own lookup here. It's going to give me a set of functions, and let's see if it works. It gives me the answer. It gives me the answer, but will it work in the cell? Let's see. I can't guarantee it. It may not. It does not. You see? So there are going to be times when it's going to put the value you need in the cell, and there are going to be times when it doesn't. And you need to experiment. But the main takeaway that I want you to have from this is that you need to sit down and you need to start developing your prompting language with your Excel spreadsheets, with Copilots, if you are inclined to do so. You are not, obviously, you are not required to go out there and use Copilot in order to create your formulas. You can go out there to Google and say, I want to create such and such in formula. How do I do that? I'm an old timer. I usually do a Google search, okay? But you can see that there are times when the Copilot method works. So you have to find what works for you and how your prompting can evolve so that you can efficiently and effectively use Copilot, not just effectively, because you don't want to sit there for 5 hours coming up with prompts that work. Okay, but you do have to learn your prompts as pertains to your data. Okay, does anybody have any questions? Does anybody want to see something I have not yet shown them? Is everybody good?
Yep.
Okay, well then, thank you very much, guys. We're at the end of the hour, and I will be back here next Thursday, same time, same place. Word tables for accessibility. All right, guys.
Hey, Raphael.
Thank you very much. All right, have a great day.
Raphael.
Yes.
I have a question. I have just a general question. Are you
Yeah.
going to have any of these on pivot tables? Because I don't actually know how to use those.
I can.
Okay.
I absolutely
I'd
can.
request it. I might be the only one who shows up, but
That's
I don't
okay.
know how to use
Pivot
those at all.
tables. Pivot tables are kind of a funny thing because it's hard to teach how to do a perfect pivot table. You have to play with them. But I can certainly put a pivot table training together without a doubt. Okay? All right, Jacqueline. Thank you.
Thanks.
See you guys. Bye-bye. Okay?
Thank you, that was so helpful.
Anytime.
So